Let's talk about the biggest draft day needs for every team in the AFC East. Next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. Dave, you threw up the I guess you're excited about the upcoming Final Four game.
You think? I've been watching Miami Hurricanes basketball for 30 years. This is the first time that they've been this good. So I'm very, very excited, but I'm here to talk about fantasy football.
Well, congratulations. I'm a little bitter as a Florida International University grad that UM and FAU, the two schools that kind of sandwich FIU, are in the Final Four, but I'm glad you're having a good time. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And let's talk about some football now. Let's continue to preview the 2023 NFL draft, and we'll go through the top draft needs for every AFC East team. And, it's kind of an interesting one because, one, it's a pretty good division, 4 teams that figure to be pretty competitive in 2023, including, arguably one of the favorites for the Super Bowl. And I feel like they might all have pretty similar needs. I'm interested in what you think. So we'll start with the Bills. What do you think their biggest need is?
Well, I'm not talking about defensive needs here. This is a fantasy podcast,
sure.
So I'm focusing on the fantasy positions. And I think Buffalo needs to add another wide receiver because
Absolutely.
They can't say for sure what they have in Gabe Davis or Khalil Shakir. And I think that they need to kind of pad that depth a little bit. They know what they have in Stephon Diggs. I doubt that Diggs is going anywhere over the next couple of seasons, but they need to find somebody that could potentially help out in case Davis and or Shakir don't bubble up to the surface and become more than role players in Buffalo. So I'm curious to see what wideout the Bills draft.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that obviously they're an explosive offense. Stephon Diggs, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And Gabe Davis last year was playing pretty much every snap, so they do like him, but it was clear that he just wasn't able to be a pressure valve for Josh Allen when teams made a focus of taking Stephon Diggs away. He's a downfield guy. He doesn't get a lot of separation. He wins contested catches. He's a big play guy, but they need a more consistent number 2 guy, I think. And obviously they've been, there's rumors that they've been linked to DeAndre Hopkins in trades, which I think would be an interesting fit. But this is a team that definitely needs some more playmaking in the wide receiver core.
And there was talk that it was a high ankle sprain that slowed Gabe Davis down. Who knows if he's healthy and doesn't play through it like he did last year, maybe he ends up being what everybody thought he would be last year.
Sure.
And when I say everybody, I mean me, because I was pretty excited about Gabe Davis.
Now we've got the Dolphins up next, and this is a team that I don't know how many, they need offensive linemen, I think. But as far as the skill positions, I don't know what this team actually needs.
I think they need a young running back. They need somebody that can push Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. And I think they need somebody for when those veterans miss playing time. You know the deal. If you've been playing fantasy for a few years, Raheem Mostert has a hard time staying healthy. He's on, I think he's going to be 32 this year. If I'm outdating him by a year, then my apologies. But I know he's north of 30. He has a hard time staying healthy. Jeff Wilson is somebody who's getting older. I don't know how effective he can be. They need somebody that can take advantage of the way defenses are forced to play against them, which is pushing the safeties back because of the speed that they put on the field with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. The better the running back they add, the more capital they put toward that, the more interested I would be in that running back for fantasy football.
All right, let's move on to the Jets, who obviously need to finish off the trade for Aaron Rodgers. But assuming that gets done, what's the biggest need here?
Oh, so now I can't say quarterback for the Jets. What am I going to do? I honestly, this is one where I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say offensive line, and specifically offensive tackle, Chris, because I think they're good at running back. Once Breece Hall is up and running, and maybe that's not till October, fingers crossed that it's before then, but I think they're going to be fine there. I love the receivers that they have now. It's going to be perfect for what Aaron Rodgers wants. They've got a lot of tight ends as well. So I think they need to find an offensive tackle. It might end up being a rookie that is a swing tackle for this year and becomes a starter next year. But they've got a couple of young tackles on the roster as it stands who get hurt. And Mekhi Becton is the main one of them. The dude is a man and a half. I loved him coming out. But they need somebody better just to have on the bench for this year in case something happens to one of their 2 starting tackles.
All right, let's move on to the Patriots to close it out. And I think this is maybe the most obvious one. I'm going to say wide receiver, and I assume you say the same thing.
I do say the same thing. You look at their wide receiver core now, and the youth is. Well, I mean, Juju's still kind of a young guy, so I guess he qualifies as youth, and they gave him a multi-year deal. Tyquan Thornton can stretch the field. We saw him flash just a few times last year. But outside of those two guys, it's Devontae Parker. Is Kendrick Bourne still going to be in the mix there? I don't know. I'm not even sure if he might be a free agent for all I know. I haven't played close enough tabs. They need another wide receiver and somebody that they can build around. When I was watching Jackson Smith-Njigba, I thought about how useful he could be to the Patriots, not just as a slot guy, but as an all-around type of a guy, because I think he's going to be one of those all-around very good NFL wide receivers. I think he'd do well in New England if he went there. I think that's a need for them, but don't rule out one other position, Chris, quarterback. Because if they can't make it happen with Mac Jones this year, they might need a plan B. And I'm not talking about Bailey Zappi. I'm curious to see if they end up being in on Hendon Hooker, the prospect quarterback who tore his ACL in November from Tennessee. Before he tore his ACL, he was having a very good year, and he's an interesting prospect.
All right, that's going to do it for the AFC team draft needs. We'll continue to preview the 2023 NFL draft and more on Fantasy Football Today in 5 over the next couple of weeks. So make sure you subscribe and leave us a nice review if you can, and we'll see you next time.